Hmm, I don't know. Usual week, nothing special. Hmm, what I can say? This week was shorter than
Mm-hmm.
usual because we have holiday. 4th November is new Russian holiday,
Oh,
Unity
okay. Mm-hmm.
Unity Day, something like this.
What is the holiday for November
Um,
4th?
Unity Day, I think,
Oh,
something
okay.
like this. It's historical. We didn't
Mm.
celebrate it before in Soviet
Mm-hmm.
Union time.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
It's historical. It's from I think 16th century, maybe
Mm. Okay.
17 or 17. It's about some historical mm, events
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah,
Russia.
I can see here there was a war between Poland and Russia in early 1600s.
Hmm. Yes. As far as I remember, it's not only about Poland, but yes, it was about Poland, and also it was. Mm, I'm not sure how to say in English. In Russia, it's called smuta. It's smuta. It means mm, dark time, something like
Ah,
this.
okay.
We have problems with the Russian government.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have mm, how it's called. Do you know it was monarch in Russia, Tsar, and
Huh? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the time Russia didn't have natural Tsar, and it was
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
struggle about power,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes several years. And in background, we also had this war with Poland.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
So how is your lessons?
Going okay. I'm contemplating some new. I mean, always coming up with a new idea and then trying to figure out if this would be useful or not. But um, yeah, I have a new student who wants Spanish and French kind of simultaneously to be able to kind of work on both of those languages together.
Mhm.
Um, and and I was looking through just kind of a promotional blog post and email about kind of marketing from one fellow teacher that I work with and network with, and she was just putting an idea out there of like instead of just a traditional kind of five package of lessons idea where like okay I talk with the
Mhm.
student for 1 hour, there was an idea about what if there was something where I might give written or audio feedback and meet maybe once a month, but maybe a student could work, like do a lot of independent work.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, well, since for me, a big restraint or not restraint, constraint, I think for teaching one to one lessons is that there is a maximum number of people I can kind of work with during the week, just in terms of the number of hours that I'm limited to. So I'm trying to consider this possibility of what about if I could um, work with language exchange partners in such a way that if there were recordings or if there was text, like they were doing writings, I could like oversee what they were working on, let's say Spanish or French, and then invite those people to make language exchanges with native speakers, and allow me to listen to recordings, and also get feedback from those language exchange partners that they're working with, and realize that maybe those people are not necessarily teachers, but as native speakers, they could be kind of testing a learner in kind of a real life situation, not exactly giving them a lesson about the language, but just kind of what would happen if they were practicing the language, just trying to communicate and not exactly have the relationship between like a teacher and a student, but just trying to get to know this other person. And if that exchange was or part of it was recorded, and then that could be used to prepare like more lesson material, that like I as a teacher could listen in the background, I mean, to a recording, take notes on maybe some mistakes that they were making or some limitations in vocabulary, and also with some feedback perhaps from that native speaker, and also feedback from the student themselves of what they felt they were able to do or what they felt kind of limited to do. Maybe start generating written and audio feedback that could kind of guide them as they kind of develop the language. So not so much of a relationship as a teacher and a student in terms of like I teach them for 60 minutes and they practice the language, but maybe getting them to practice the language more with native speakers, but give them that feedback that you might not have with most language exchange partners who are not necessarily teachers, and who may, as you've said in the past, where like if you had nothing to talk about, you lose interest in that language exchange. So I was just wondering, like, would it be possible to have some kind of a professional language exchange partner, like somebody who is paid, or perhaps if there's some kind of a network to kind of engage people for the purpose of practicing the language, not necessarily like if they lose interest because they don't have anything to talk about or they don't kind of connect with that person, like keep it more like in terms of like a teacher. I mean, it's good to have a connection with that person, but you're paying them for their time so you can practice. And I think the challenge sometimes with language exchange partners, like if they're not available or if they're not interested or they're getting kind of too many requests, they probably won't want to help people. So I'm just wondering, like, yeah, what would you think if there was some possibility that you said like you could engage with a professional language exchange partner, let's say for Japanese or Chinese, and you would know that you could talk to that person when you wanted to, for the sake of practicing that language. Maybe not so much as having to teach that person your native language, because that's also a difficulty sometimes, is that like you need to find somebody who wants to practice your language. So I'm just trying to think of that kind of like a tutor would probably know how to teach a language kind of informally, have that kind of native speaker background. But what if this person was like not trained as a teacher, but just a native speaker, and if you'd be practicing your language with that person, and then the teacher would be kind of somebody who would be listening or reading homework.
Yes, I think it's interesting. So you try and as teacher to go more to offline and put online some native speaker instead, and you still form topics for lessons or something. So you make some agenda or something like this.
Yeah, I think there could be some,
Yes,
yeah,
maybe
some way
maybe.
to guide the student, give them a kind of a plan of what they're going to work on, but also be very maybe responsive
Mhm.
in terms of what things come up, what limitations come up in a conversation. So it would be kind of it would be a little more stressful than an actual lesson with a teacher, where like the teacher would be walking a student through material. But I think
Mhm.
sometimes what is more instructive is just kind of trial by fire, just trying to express yourself, trying to talk to a native speaker, however stressful that could be. The kind of situations if you were, I don't know, in real life, like at a restaurant or on the street, trying to express yourself, and maybe that person that doesn't necessarily speak your language or understand you, but like you have to make yourself understood. And like, what would happen if that conversation was being recorded, and then somebody listened to this as a teacher or as another native speaker or as a fellow learner, maybe somebody who's more advanced than you in that language, uh, could also give feedback on like what worked for them, and recognizing maybe the difficulty as a fellow learner or as a fellow speaker of that same native language, and recognizing kind of, so maybe kind of getting a team of native speakers, teachers, maybe teachers who are native speakers, maybe teachers who are, um, also a student in that language, maybe more advanced, and who know the theory, and maybe just other people at different levels in that language. So I don't know, for example, for Italian, for you, if you could ask questions not only to a native speaker, but also ask questions to somebody who's more advanced than you, um, like what worked for them, as kind of a benchmark. So
Mm.
those are just some ideas I'm kind of bouncing around.
Yes, I think it's interesting idea. I like idea to involve mm, native speakers who are not teachers, because there are much more. If you see our group, for example, there are much more
Mhm.
native speakers who are not teachers and who want to participate somehow, but it's difficult because of all the reasons why language exchange is difficult. And I like your experiment with these live lessons. It's not very popular for now, how I
Not
see,
yet.
but
Yeah, not yet.
yes, yes, but
But
I
I'll
but
kind of keep going.
I think idea is very interesting, because people who want to participate, who are not teachers but want to help somehow, they can take part, and maybe it may go further, um, to be something like you say now, to be just lessons with native speakers without teacher. Uh, they will just have some plan or topic, and they can make this exchange. I just think, for me, for me personally, it's not interesting to pay to native speakers, because my language learning, it's mm, I can say I don't have clear goals. I don't need to pass exam, for example, in a month. So for me, it's okay to go slow, without to go slow using just free resources. Uh, but for people who need to prepare for some exam, or who need clear goals, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if they want to pay to people who are not teachers. I think it's risky maybe because um, you they have limited time, limited resources, and they have no guarantee. I don't know. I think it's interesting, and we can try, of course, and see
Yeah, I think.
how it goes.
I mean, in some cases, like the concept of a native speaker can be a bit like a commodity in terms of you want to be able to practice this language with a native speaker, but not necessarily all native speakers are equal. Some people have experience teaching. Some people have experience, in a specific field, like an interest or expertise. So you might want to talk to that person if you are, let's say, you're an engineer and you want to talk to somebody who's also an engineer or we have that kind of a background. But I think sometimes the fact that somebody the only thing that you have in common is the language itself, that is kind of a true test of can you communicate with anybody in this language, or do you need to have these special conditions in place to know that you feel comfortable talking with somebody who has the same interests with you? But when I'm living here in Mexico, I need to be able to speak to anybody in Spanish. I can't establish those conditions and say, oh, we have something to talk about, so I can order movie tickets from you, or oh, you also like literature, so I can order food from you in a restaurant. I think we don't know those conditions when you're visiting a country, so I'm not sure if like only being able to talk to people who you have a shared interest in, like I guess for making a relationship with that person, like a long-term investment in each other's progress. Like when it's free because you're like both people are exchanging like a 30 minutes or 15 minutes in each language. But I guess if money was involved, then this would cut down on the nature of being an exchange. Like, well, if it's no longer 30 minutes and 30 minutes, maybe I just talk to that person in the target language for 30 minutes and I practice the language in exchange for their time, in exchange for like paying them their time, and maybe they don't necessarily talk to me in the language that they're studying. Or maybe in terms of a small group of people, maybe the idea would be to get language exchange partners in place who, let's say, you're learning Italian and somebody is learning Russian, so that they can practice with you. And maybe it's not a reciprocal exchange, like you finding exactly one person who is interested in learning Russian and you learning Italian. I think that's a difficult thing to find. But I've seen this a little bit in the group where what if there was like a third, like three people involved in kind of a pay it forward approach, in terms of let's say you help me with Russian, but I don't necessarily help you with your English, but I help an Italian speaker with his English, and maybe I could say, okay, instead of helping me with my Italian, how about you go help Vadim with his Italian? So maybe I could set up some kind of a three-way system where each person gets the language they want to practice, but does not have to worry about the exchange in return. So that, like, because it's very difficult sometimes to find people who want to learn Russian and or to find this other language, but you may want to have access to another language that's very popular or more like that there are more native speakers who are online, to put it that way, and so maybe setting up like a 3-way, or what could be end up even being a 4-way, kind of a circle that you could kind of be helping people and getting help, but not from the same person.
Yes, it's interesting. It's similar to, I think, to Liliana's cross-reading
exactly.
project.
With the cross reading, yeah, you're getting help from people you don't know, not necessarily, and maybe you could help them in exchange, but again, kind of helping a community, not necessarily a specific person. So yeah, I hadn't quite thought of it that way, but yeah, I guess that is a source of inspiration there, of Liliana's cross-reading project.
Yes, it could be interesting.
So I just have to find people interested to try this out. But,
yes, it's interesting. I think people must be interested. And about your previous idea, when you exchange with native speaker as part of lesson, and maybe with speaker who don't know your language or English language, maybe it will be interesting for people who going to country like Arash, who was going to Estonia, and he need to study Estonian as fast as possible, and he need to be ready communicate with people who don't know English and don't know other languages. So maybe yes, it's kind of shock therapy when you have no chance to no help from outside. You just have this person and you need to communicate somehow. Maybe it would be interesting for people who need to go to other country and want to prepare to this.
Also, Arash was telling me about the language test that he took for Estonian, and he said part of the speaking exercise, because what I've seen from what I've taken for the IELTS or training people for the TOEFL, like the IELTS was talking to a native speaker and getting that person to like ask you questions, and they were recording you. The TOEFL is just you're talking to the computer and there's a recording. But I think what Arash told me was that the other person for the speaking section was another test taker. So the two people had to have a conversation. I think the difficulty is if both people are beginners in the language, there's not enough momentum to know if what that other person is saying is correct or not. But I think what he told me was that somebody was a little bit more advanced in the language, and that person was able to carry a conversation a little bit more and kind of engaging Arash in a conversation. But I guess the recording, I guess there was a recording of that so that the test examiners could evaluate how both of these people were able to kind of interact in that language and communicate. So I thought that was an interesting idea. So that's why I was thinking, like, if instead of putting the emphasis on my time as a teacher, which can be limited, what about if the time in the speaking practice and the kind of communication practice could be with another person, and I could just kind of take notes, or even ask somebody to take notes for me, and other people to listen, so get a whole network of people. So somebody is practicing the language, they're communicating with a native speaker, that's getting recorded. Maybe even the recording is being, again, outsourced to somebody else who can listen to this for me and take some notes. And then I can take a look at the notes from the recording, listen to a recording, and then start to devise ideas on what that person needs to learn or review, and maybe again outsource some of this copywriting or content generation to say, okay, you're also a native speaker. Could you record these words and translate them naturally into this language? Could you record part of a dialogue? Could you create a dialogue? And just kind of getting almost like a car manufacturing type of outsourced model. So like there are a lot of people involved in a process, and it's not necessarily dependent on one person, like the teacher, to do everything. So I'm trying to get this idea of kind of like assembling the parts of a car in terms of assembling the parts of a language learning process, so that like a student, what they really need to do is practice speaking, but maybe have the faith and the confidence that there's a community or a team of consultants, native speakers, teachers, copywriters, translators that are kind of in the background. And those people are taking notes on what this person is saying. They're listening, taking notes on pronunciation, and all of that stuff is being kind of diagnosed and analyzed in the background. And then new content is being created to adapt to what that person needs to work on, but without necessarily the kind of the frustration of, I don't know what I need to work on. I don't know if I'm making progress or not. So maybe there's kind of monitoring throughout the whole process. So those are just like ideas that are bouncing around here. So we'll have to, I'd have to test this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting idea, and I don't know how exactly implement all of this, but I think it can be some interesting project from all this. Maybe I think
I have to test it out for free. Yeah, I have to test it out for free with a couple like beta test it with a couple people who like who I know are interested in.
Think about your online lessons. I think this project may grow from these online lessons if more native speakers will participate in the future, and more students. Maybe it's somehow transform in this kind of project you speak. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that there's potential for like tailored, custom content, kind of on-demand content based on kind of what people want to learn. And I've been trying to find people to test this idea as well, but getting people who want to learn a language in terms of giving me some, let's say, personal content, like not something too private and sensitive, but things about their kind of their self-introduction, or things about their interests, their hobbies, or their family, their friends, which would be kind of the familiar topics that they would want to discuss, or the people that they would want to talk about, and trying to get that content translated or turned into lesson material. Because I think sometimes when you're at the beginning stage of a language, you have to look at this kind of one size fits all content for everybody, and you might have to look at these characters and a story, and you have to waste a lot of time like imagining who these people are or what they do. But I'm trying to think like, well, what if that character that you are observing is you, or your content being adapted into a story, and these are phrases of like, oh, I do have a family. Oh, I do have kids. I am a teacher. I like to do these things. And you kind of observe that maybe from the perspective like, okay, these are phrases that work for me, but then maybe like what we're doing right now in the lessons of transitioning to talking about people in the third person. What if there's some content that's like, oh, here's content about your brother. This is information you have provided about him. This information is true and these phrases are correct. These are the things you could use to talk about him. Or here's information about your best friend, and here it's translated and here it's turned into a lesson plan. And so it'll be kind of tailored to that person's particular, life situation or there's interest in it. But I still want to test this out on Find People to see, is this like an accelerated method that people could connect with that content a lot faster, and not make it so abstract, of like imaginary characters, but kind of connecting it to your life, connecting it to the people you know, connecting it to your interest, your profession, where you live. I mean, that's kind of the scary side of technology, or the scary side of like too much public information or private information. But if it were custom made, I think some people might be interested in that. Like if, let's say, if they're business professionals who had to go visit a country like 2 weeks from now or a month from now, what would be one accelerated method to get them to engage with that language? So that's just kind of another idea.
In your online teaching now, do you use homeworks? Do you give homeworks to students?
Yes, I do encourage people to do recordings and daily recordings, daily writing. But I get overwhelmed with the feedback part of that, because especially for students who are preparing for the TOEFL, they have these long essays, and they have the recordings for the 6 different types of questions, and they want specific, like they're paying specifically for my feedback. I've tried to encourage a couple people for the writings, for the essays, to also put these on italki. But by the nature of italki, if something is long, like an essay, some people usually don't jump in and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna correct this person's essay. That's actually a professional service on many other websites where they say, we charge like $16 to proofread your essay, for one essay. So like italki, it's usually maybe like a short paragraph that people are willing to correct for free. Some longer text, they kind of back off a little bit. So I'm a little limited on the number of students I have, and especially if they're all doing TOEFL prep and their test is like a week or 2 weeks from now. So the time commitment there's a lot of pressure to give the people the feedback, and listen to that. And some students have kind of, let's say there isn't exactly a maximum, and they take advantage of that. So I have had a few students who send me not just 6 audio files for feedback, they'll send me like 20, 30 from one session to the next one. And it's a little overwhelming where like each one might be 45 seconds or 1 minute of audio, but you have to listen to it like 1 or 2 times to be able to kind of listen to it in layers. Like one could be the content, one could be the pronunciation, one could be the grammar and the vocabulary and taking notes, to give people the feedback on that. And so I would like to see if there's a way that I could get a network of other people to help me listen to the audio for feedback or look at the writing for feedback, and then like outsource that section of the this listening and reading and correcting, and then I can kind of go through and maybe oversee some of that feedback, and with my experience with teaching the language, kind of pinpoint what that person really needs to work on, like prioritize what's the most important things that they need to work on, not just all of this feedback, but like which one should they focus on first in terms of fixing, or what is an exercise or some homework that they could do to specifically practice one grammar point or one way to improve their vocabulary. So I'm getting a lot of pressure on correcting the feedback, correcting the homework, and I realize kind of a one person show, a one man show of kind of me doing everything, of like the scheduling, making sure that the packages are being sold, and that the packages are like the monitoring how many lessons have been taken, how many are left, listening to audio, reading text, either in the lesson or outside the lesson. I just kind of I need the support of like a team or a school, or outsourcing some of these things so that I can be kind of freeing up more time so I can reach more students, or taking other people's time, like for that feedback. So I mean, like, and also kind of the time with me face to face is also kind of a limitation. So I can only do about 6 or 7 hours per day.
Yeah.
And if I could reduce that and say, like for the example of learning a foreign language, maybe not having the burden of speaking to me not as a non-native speaker. What about if I could outsource that speaking practice to work with other people? That would free up my time, and I could prioritize the kind of the feedback that I give those people. So so I could be managing students, but not necessarily directly. I could be like indirectly guiding them with things in the background, like for example, if you go to a restaurant, a good waiter doesn't, you don't notice the waiter. They're keeping their eye on your experience, and they'll see, like, if you start to like raise your hand or look around, they know that you want something, so they'll kind of come over and get it for you. Or they realize something, like, I don't know, they saw that a spoon just fell on the floor, so they're already not going over to ask you, do you need a new spoon, but they're like, here's what you need. Or, oh, I see there weren't enough napkins on the table. Okay, here's some more napkins. So you don't have to ask them exactly what you want, but they can observe, and then they can kind of get you what you need or what you want at the appropriate time, but without being necessarily intrusive. Because there's other restaurants where you have a waiter and like, is everything okay? Is everything okay? And like, I'm fine, please leave me alone. And there's other restaurants where, like, I don't know, like in a French cafe where, like, where's my waiter? Or where's the, like, and it'll take forever to get the bill, or it'll take forever to just get an espresso or something. So, I mean, there's a whole contrast on there. And I think you could kind of compare that to a teaching experience where, like, you might get teachers who are difficult to contact with, or who might be asking too many questions. Is everything okay? Is everything okay? Where they should be a little more kind of intuitive to recognize what the difficulty is, or what the next step is in the plan or the process. So yeah, I guess that's what I need to work on next, is getting like a team of people that I can work with, for like translators, copywriters, people making recordings of native like vocabulary and dialogues and things like that. So kind of getting a team of on-demand people that I can trust and work with, and maybe right now kind of test this with 1 or 2 languages, and maybe even test it on myself of like wanting to improve my own languages, but realize that my time might be limited. But if I could get people to help create this content for me, so I can test it on myself and then see those results and see if it would be beneficial for other people.
Yes, interesting.
But, yeah, I'd like to test this for Italian for you, since if that's one of your main interests at the moment. I don't know anything really for Chinese, Japanese, so I wouldn't quite be able to kind of gauge if that was kind of working.
Yes,
But
Italian now more active for me. Chinese in background. I work with Chinese only with memorize to not forget several characters I already remember, but no more than that. Now I took online course in Italian. It's four-part course. Now it's second part. Each part is 4 weeks, and there is 4 parts, so a 4-month online course. And they say in the end you will be able to communicate, speak about simple things, about yourself. I'm from. I have brother, sister. I work somewhere. These things. I think it's a good beginning, and after this, yes, maybe I can try to exchange with some Italian. So yes, it would be interesting to find partner. Maybe Liliana will return. I'm not sure. She's now very busy with some new projects. I don't know what is it. So she's not participating often in our hangouts.
Yeah, I mean, Saturdays. The weekends in general, they can be a little challenging sometimes. What was I going to ask you? Have you tried using the Italki notebook entries or making
Not
recordings?
yet.
Have you tried doing that?
I saw this thing. Yes, it's interesting. I didn't try to use myself, but maybe I will in the future. You mean when you can write text and people can correct? Yes, it's interesting. I saw this. I think not in italki. I saw there was some site you sent link before. I forget the name.
I think Tatiana has mentioned Lang 8. It's LANG -8. There's another website called Govo Luble.
Yeah, Go.
GOVOLUBLE. I think they also have the possibility to record a little bit of the audio. And
yes,
what else on here?
I saw this on Govo. Yes, I tried. I installed this italki, and I found some Chinese people who want to study Russian, and I don't know. It's usual problem. We just chat several times, and after this, so I cannot now say more than ni hao, hello, or how are you? and CSE, thank you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all. Wo Chao Vadim, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and what next? We
Mm-hmm.
both have no idea, and so they just okay. I offer you can answer me about Russian if you want. No one answer. No one ask. No one ask. I don't know. For me, it's not easy to exchange for some reason because
Mm-hmm.
if people don't ask me, I also don't know what to ask.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult. And good best experience for now it's this Peters project because we always have topic. We just
Mm-hmm.
use student book and we just go see what next topic and
Mm-hmm.
we go. So
And
it's perfect.
have do you know any more about the books, like Benny's books, if they are if you're able to track that? Mm-hmm.
I think couple of days ago I mm, get message that it goes through customs, so it's already in Russia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in Russia, I think it's go through Moscow. Maybe
Oh, okay.
it means it can go week or two more from Moscow to
Oh,
Barovsk.
okay.
So it's not
But
fast.
if you go onto, let's say, the Italki website, I think there is a section here for language hacking. Yeah, here. Because one of the other people who she was showing that she was working on the different missions or like the chapters and the tasks on there, and so as soon as you get the book, like if you have the account on Italki, you can see how you can make videos and like YouTube videos and put these into the language hacking the practice there. And I think Benny is giving some feedback, and other native speakers are starting to get involved to kind of, as people are going through the books and practicing the speaking. So that's given me some interest, some ideas about how to engage people. And I know some people don't necessarily want to do YouTube, like a public video on YouTube. That might be a bit stressful for some people. Maybe there's some people who want something a little bit more private and not so public. So I've seen with some students who want to do something with like a cloud storage website where there might be a private link and they can share that with specific people, but not make it like public for everybody to access this. I think on YouTube there's also a possibility of a like a non-listed video. So some people can see it, but like if you don't share that link, nobody can see it. But if it's completely private, then the only person who can see it is you. But yeah, for some people who want to kind of make recordings but want to be selective on who sees it, or they don't want to be like publicly embarrassed if there are comments, or like, I think it's even possible to turn off comments on a YouTube video, so you get comments in another way, not not underneath the video. So I mean, there could be people who just leave some negative comments, and somebody learning language could be a little discouraged from wanting to practice. But for this, with this language hacking, I think there's some possibilities there.
Okay, I found, yes, this language hacking. Okay, I'll see. Maybe I'll try to post some videos. It's interesting. It has Italian.
Yeah, while you
section.
are still, yeah, while you are waiting for the books to arrive, maybe I can kind of show you some show you some of what the content would be for like the first couple lessons, so you could start working with the content until the books actually physically arrive, to see for that.
Yes, interesting. Thank you. And what about your live lessons? Are you going to
for Monday? Yeah, for Monday, I would like to work on, let's say, the third person plural. So like so this would be the ich, ich and ihm. So maybe you could help me a few minutes right now. Sorry?
Plural.
Yes, the plural. Yes, the plural form. So could you help me? Could you help me with this document? This is what we've worked on in the past for the last 2 lessons. Let me just get here. Just gonna have to copy this. Let me see here. My computer seems to be a little slow for a second. Can you access the document?
Yes, I open document.
Yeah, you can see it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Can you? Yeah, now I see you in there. Yeah, they're in the second table.
And what page?
On the first page, I posted the second. I posted a table, and I put English plural. So I'm going to start doing these. So if you can help me change, well, maybe my father's, my mother's, that doesn't really make sense. If you can help me change those into the plural.
Yeah, right. Мои подруги. Мгм.
I think I would also add on here. Let me add a couple rows below. My parents. So I think the мои родители. What else would I add?
It's right. Мои родители.
If you could write that down here. What else could you say? My cousins.
Oh, cousins. I think cousin is двоюродный брат in Russia, if I'm not mistaken. Who is cousin? Is
Cousin would be if you have an aunt and an uncle, it would be their children.
yes, in Russia it's двоюродный брат, двоюродная сестра.
Oh, okay.
And
So
we don't have one form for both.
okay, let me.
Do you have in English brother-in-law, sister-in-law?
Yes, yeah, that would be brother-in-law. That would be if your brother gets married, your brother's wife is your sister-in-law. There's
Okay.
also if you get married and your wife's brother is your
I see.
brother-in-law.
Russian it's called Shurin. Male it's Shurin, female it's sister-in-law is невестка.
Okay.
And okay, grandparents it's also a problem. It would be you mean grandparents?
Your parents' parents.
I know. If you mean parents of your father, for example,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
you would say мои бабушка и дедушка. You cannot say in one word. But if you mean parents of your father, both your father and mother, you would say мои бабушки и дедушки, because you have two grandfather and two grandmother.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. So if you're talking about like, I see.
Say бабушки и дедушки.
Yeah, if you could put both, that's like моя бабушка и дедушка. Or is it моя бабушка и мой? Oh, what is it? If it was your parent, if it was your father's parents, it would be бабушка и дедушка.
You can say мои бабушка и дедушка. Мои because there are
plural.
Two of them. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
But you cannot call both with one word, so you use two words.
I
Мои,
see.
Бабушка и дедушка. We don't have one word for grandparents.
I see. Okay. Could you put both of that in that box? In that cell? So you could say мои бабушки и дедушки. You can keep writing and I'll fix it later. But
let's say this way. If you say about just one couple of grandparents.
Yes, I see. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. And then the number 2 below the table. If I did this, let's say,
I see.
3 or 2, 3 here. I think the Russian is at the bottom. So if I put this, if I put this in the plural, would I still be using это?
Yes, yes. Это мои братья.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Could you help me change?
Mhm. I think about photo. It's not very clear. You can say это фото моего брата. You also can say if you have several photos. If you want to stress that there's actually several, you better say это фотографии. Это фотографии моего брата.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, if you say about what must be plural here? Photo or
Like this is a
brand?
picture of my two brothers, for example.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I keep фото моих братьев. This way.
Okay, I see. Let me get to the next one here. For the 3. So I would change that in the plural as well.
Mm-hmm. And here we have the same form
Okay.
for brothers and sisters.
Yeah. I'll simplify this. Yeah. I don't think you have to do it twice. I'll just delete one of these.
So maybe to show that I think in some languages it would be different.
Okay. Yeah.
In Italian, it would be different.
Or Spanish, I think. Yeah. There might be a. Okay.
Just to show that in Russian it's
the same. Mm-hmm.
And for married, it would be different because we have different words for married.
Okay.
And if you ask about sisters and brothers. So you have,
Yeah, mixed.
for example, 2 sisters and 1 brother. You use женаты.
Oh, okay.
You can use женаты. Sisters too. And we don't have this form host for plural. Oh, should we have?
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, you're pasting it.
Okay. Oh, it's strange. You have several brothers, and they all 10 years old.
Yeah. Okay. If they were all brothers, yeah, yeah, you probably wouldn't have, or unless they were twins, I guess. But
Yeah.
But if you're talking about cousins or friends, so.
And if you have 2 brothers and they have different age, you
Yeah,
can
that would make more
say.
sense. Yeah.
I think you cannot say it in plural. You will say something. Одному 20 лет, другому 30 лет.
But I guess if you're talking about 2 friends, yeah, I guess you could say 2 friends are the same age. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that'll get me started for being able to talk about people. But yeah, I think being able to mention the fact that yeah, maybe in Russian you might want to be more specific in terms of saying that this person is that and this person is this. So you might not necessarily talk about the people in the plural specifically. That you might have a separation, like he is this and she, or
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, those would be some things to maybe talk about a little bit further in the video. Is the same time that we did last week, or not last week, but a couple of days ago on Monday? Is that time work for you?
Yes, for me it's convenient time.
Okay, so I think let me just check in the what time we look at the events. Oh, my kids will be going to school again, so let me, where was this?
could be 1 hour
Yeah.
plus or minus. It's not
Yeah. Oh, I think we did this at. I
different.
think we did this at my 7 a.m. But I think my kids. Like what time is it for you right now?
Now it's 00:23.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's midnight.
Okay. Yeah. I imagine that's too late for you.
It's late, but it's okay. I can participate this time.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're sure? At midnight?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, unfortunately with the time change now on my part, it's,
No, midnight is okay. It's just one day in week. It's okay. If it's not every day, so
yeah.
it's
Okay.
not big deal.
Okay. And I'll see if, I'll see if the other Italian speaker, Federico, I'll see if he can join maybe at the, right now,
No.
not right now, but at this time of the, like for you, what would be like zero, like at this time with 0:20 for Italian. I'll see if he can join for like 15 minutes. I'll see if he can join. Yeah, he's in the group now. He's in the group now, so he's starting to participate.
Russian lesson would be in midnight.
Yeah, I would say, and maybe Italian at.
Yes, it's okay.
Okay.
Maybe you did you think about somehow promote better your lessons in group?
Yeah, I need to do that now, today, Saturday, instead of just improvising it on the Monday.
Maybe pin and
maybe pin the events. Yeah, maybe I'll pin a.
As far as I understand, this many people don't know about this events page and don't see it. Maybe it's not for everyone.
Yeah, I need to tell people, hey, check the events. Also, I think there's a thing on there where I can check and invite people who are my friends who are in the group, but then I know that not everybody is interested in this, so like I've neglected like not to tick that, like to say like I don't want to. I mean, I know some people are interested, but I will make more. Yeah.
I'm sure many people interested because it's 13,000 people now.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of the people who I have friended, who are on my list and who are in the group as well. But yeah, so yeah, I'll make the events now to save for that for Monday.
Oh, okay. I think we can finish if you don't need.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I think my kids are probably getting up now and getting ready for breakfast. But yeah, thank you so much as always, and getting your feedback on these ideas and helping me out with these live lessons. So I think there's some interesting ways for this to kind of grow. Yeah, it also could you write a brief description based on these phrases that we did? Like, could you, I mean, not using, like, as I mentioned before, not using very sensitive personal information, but if you could make up a character like your brother or your friend or your sister, and then maybe talk about like two friends. Like if you could make a short
story.
Yeah, a short 1-paragraph text description about a friend or a brother, and maybe a short text description about maybe two friends, so you can kind of compare, talk about them in the plural.
Okay, if you create this event, I just post as comment.
Sure. Yeah. I think that as a comment that could be useful to work with these phrases. Cool. Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, have a good good rest of the weekend, and we'll talk on. Well,
Yes.
it'll be my Monday morning, but I think for you it'll be the start of Tuesday. It's a really long
Yes.
time.
Now it's start of Sunday for me.
Yes. Okay. So have a good Sunday, and we'll talk,
Mm-hmm.
or beginning of Tuesday. So, okay.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Pleasure talking
Bye.
with you.